Chris Lee and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here to preview Florida's road trip to LSU. As we are doing this, LSU is about a 13.5-point favorite with an over-under of 63.5. That makes for a predicted final of what that would be 39-25 in LSU's favor. Neither team real happy about the way they played a week ago, Blayne. We've got quarterback situation to get into at LSU, which we'll get into in a little bit. Florida lost a home game, which it doesn't a lot. Computers have LSU as a solid favorite in this one. SP Plus has the Tigers as a 13-point favorite. You've got FPI, LSU by 17, Sagarin, LSU by 16, team rankings, LSU by 19. And again, some of that's home field advantage. But we're not entirely sure which LSU offense we'll be getting because Jaden Daniels is in concussion protocol. No, Garrett Nussmeier, really good backup, one of the better ones in the league. But Jaden Daniels had a case as the best player in the league. So we're doing this Sunday night. A lot of unknowns as we do this right now, Blayne.
Yeah, after that brutal hit from Dallas Turner to Jaden Daniels, he's in concussion protocol, and we'll see how, if he had it. They said, we don't know if he really had a concussion. He's being evaluated, all this kind of stuff. So we'll see how that plays out throughout the week. But if Garrett Nussmeier does go in there, I think everybody remembers when he came in the second half of the SEC championship game and proceeded to look like Dan Marino against Georgia's defense that went on to win the national championship that year. I mean, threw for almost 3 bills and just over a half of football over there. So that was it. That was impressive. He's got a rocket for an arm. He's got talented receivers to throw the football to. Whoever's at quarterback, I expect LSU to be quite dynamic on offense, especially against a Florida defense that is struggling mightily in terms of tackling in space and also staying in phase with receivers in coverage. So we'll see how this one plays out, and I'm decided to break it down here as we get into this matchup, this rivalry game that could be going away, Chris, with the scheduling stuff. It could be, won't be an annual deal anymore.
All right, this preview is presented by BetOnline. The last of major pro sports leagues is off and rolling. College basketball ready to go this week as well. BetOnline remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every sport available at your fingertips. With both desktop and mobile access at any time, head to BetOnline today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Well, let's start when Florida's got the ball. Graham Mertz has had a nice season. Gators averaging 28.9 points a game, running 67 plays on average, throwing the ball. Graham Mertz's been pretty good. He's been careful with the ball all year. Gators only turning it over about 1.3% of the time, throwing it 56% of the time, 6.8 yards per passing play. LSU's secondary has had fits. They are giving up 7 yards per passing play. And again, passing play, sack is counted as a passing play in that one. So even when LSU gets sacks and you take that off the total, 7 yards a pop on a pass, not good. Not great against the rush either. LSU averaging 5.5 yards on a rushing play. Florida averaging 5.2. But honestly, I think the rushing attack has been a little disappointing. I would have thought that Johnson and Etienne would have had better years than they've had. Maybe some of that is not having Anthony Richardson this year. I don't know. But LSU's defense has been giving them up. Florida's defense or offense has been pretty solid at moving the ball and good at not turning it over. And certainly I would expect the Gators to put up some points here, Blayne.
Yeah, I think that you'll see them put up points, but we got to remember the big factor here in this one, Chris, and what is going to happen about 6:30 Central now with the time change and all this kind of stuff. What is the big factor there in Baton Rouge, Chris?
The LIC factor. LUC,
yeah.
excuse me.
LUC and LSU, the liquored up Cajuns there in Baton Rouge, in Death Valley. That's going to make it tough on that Florida offense in terms of communication and things like that. Then you go back and you look at, okay, well, exactly how did Alabama hurt this LSU defense in this previous game? And how did Ole Miss hurt it a couple games ago? What did both of those teams have? They had a mobile quarterback in Jackson Dart and in Jalen Milroe. That's kind of what hurt LSU's defense. I don't know that Florida, Graham Mertz is not just totally immobile, but he can't run like those guys. And I don't think he's going to be able to extend plays. So I think it's going to be a bigger concentration on Montrell Johnson and on Trevor Etienne for that LSU defense, trying to stop that run first. Listen, they did an okay job of holding down McClellan and holding down Roydell Williams. They just couldn't keep Milroe from running around on them. I think Florida has struggled to convert third downs this year. And if they aren't able to establish that run early, which they have not done away from home well, they didn't do it in Jacksonville versus Georgia. They didn't do it at Utah. They haven't done it in different road environments this year. It's going to be interesting to see if they can do it on the road. But what they do have, Chris, and I think that Billy Napier and company do have to lean on, is they have a just electrifying player in Eugene Wilson. Billy Napier refers to him as Trey Wilson. He's Eugene Wilson III, so he refers to him as Trey. And Trey can make some plays, and they have to find creative ways to get him the football. But I do think you'll see a concerted effort by them to try to get Johnson and Etienne going early, because they have not been successful running the ball on the road.
Well, and you want to keep LSU's offense off the field. That's one thing Florida's done a good job of is keeping its defense off the field. I don't know what happened last week. Arkansas could not move the ball against the two of us until they fired Dan Enos, and it all broke loose against Florida last week in Gainesville, and one that I'm sure has got Gator fans just shaking their heads. LSU averaging 45 points a game, 8.1 yards a snap. Gators giving up 6 yards a snap. LSU averaging 9.5 yards a pass play, turning it over just 1% of the time. But the quarterback factor, I mean, look, even if it's Garrett Nussmeier, which I'm guessing it's going to be, as we do this Sunday night after the concussion protocol and that hit that Jaden Daniels took, that's still a really loaded offense with Neighbors and that bunch out there, and Brian Thomas. And we've talked about how LSU's run the ball better than maybe you would think. 6.5 yards a carry. A lot of that Jaden Daniels, but here's the point. This is a multifaceted offense. It's one of the best in the country, maybe the best in the country when Daniels is there. Don't know what it looks like without him, if it is indeed without him, but it's still going to be plenty good, Blayne.
Yeah, Florida was also on defense. They were without Cam Jackson and Tyreek Sapp for that Arkansas game. And so when you don't have guys up front to both stop the run and get after the passer, and you saw that Arkansas was able to run the football on Florida, something they had not been able to do all year long. Chris, I mean, am I wrong about that? Arkansas had been
No, you're not
abysmal.
wrong.
It was
astonishing. Yeah.
And they absolutely ran it down, over 100 yards for Rocket Sanders. They couldn't tackle KJ Jefferson. Like I said, I don't think if it'll be a different style. Garrett Nussmeier is not going to be out there running, but he is a guy who has some mobility to himself. He's not Jaden Daniels, but he can run, and he's a big guy. So I think tackling in open field could be a problem. Logan Diggs didn't have a great game against Alabama, but that's Alabama's defensive front, and I think they'll try to establish him early, especially if it is Nussmeier at quarterback for LSU. But one thing that is going to be a problem is we saw it in the Georgia game. We saw it even in the Arkansas game. Florida loses people in man coverage. They do not stay in phase well. They had some bust against Arkansas, and I think that you're going to see these LSU receivers just kind of dice up that defense, especially if the offense sputters for Florida in any ways and they have to punt a couple times early and they get that crowd, those LUCs going over there, the liquored up Cajuns, the momentum starts going. It could be a really, really bad experience in Death Valley for the Gators, and I think you'll see the LSU offense get humming. got to get the ball to the usual suspects, right? Malik Neighbors, Kyron Lacey, Brian Thomas, get those guys involved early. But I think you'll see LSU have a lot of success offensively in this game.
You really single out that fan base like no other fan base shows up inebriated.
There's no environment. I'm telling you, there's no environment until you've been to Baton Rouge at night. I don't know that you've experienced a hostile LSU environment. It is, I mean, they are just absolutely bonkers in there, and it's just a very difficult place to play.
Yeah. We'll see if they've lost a little enthusiasm after the third loss last week to Alabama, which essentially knocked them out of the college football playoff for once and for all. Couple other stats of note. Both teams have been pretty disciplined. Florida, 45 yards of penalties a game. LSU, 49. Special teams, Florida's got a really good unit, ranked 12th in the country, according to SP+. And LSU, 91st. Hey, that's better than it was last year, but still not great. Don't think that's enough to overcome what I think is a pretty significant talent advantage. At least on the offensive side of the ball. LSU's defense, we got some issues there. But when you score 45 a night and you're doing it against some pretty good defenses, and you got Thomas and Neighbors and all those guys out there just catching passes, I don't care if it's Nussmeier, I don't care if it's Jaden Daniels, I don't care who it is. I just don't know that Florida has got the firepower to keep up. And oh, by the way, as we've mentioned, this one's in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and just losing that Arkansas game just hurt Florida so much in terms of their chances to make a bowl game, Chris, because now you got to go on the road to LSU. You have to go on the road to Missouri the week after that, and then you get Florida State, who's probably going to end up in the college football playoff at home on a couple days after Thanksgiving. So, when it comes down to it, Florida's in desperation mode. Their backs are against the wall. A lot of pressure on Billy Napier, but I don't think they have the talent to win this ball game. I think LSU, even if it is Garrett Nussmeier, who's not your average backup quarterback, as we've said, I think they'll just eviscerate Florida defensively, and then it'll be hard for Florida to keep up points wise, even though I do think they'll have success on LSU's defense, which just has a lot of holes in it. But I think you'll see LSU, much like in the Missouri game earlier this year, I think they'll get timely stops when needed, but I think they'll win this one more comfortably than they did that Missouri game. Give me LSU big in this one at home.
Thanks for watching our predictions here at Southeastern 14. Have a great day. God bless you. And we appreciate you telling a friend about us here. You're watching Southeastern 14 presented by Bet Online.